Hi, I'm Chris. This is Finding God at Work. Just a reminder that Finding God at Work isn't just a podcast, it's also an online course. Check it out at findinggodatwork.org. Our current series is Divine Disappointments, Facing Pain and Sorrow at Work. And today I am so psyched to have a very special guest on the show with me, Drew Boa. Welcome, Drew.
Hey, Chris. Great to see you.
Drew is the founder and CEO of Husband Material Ministries, where he helps men outgrow porn. He is also a podcaster, coach, pastoral sex addiction professional, and certified brain spotting practitioner. And on top of all those things, Drew is also a friend of mine. We have known each other, I did the math, for 14 years now, which 7 times 2. It's like a biblical fullness of friendship. Yeah.
Completion.
So it's just a delight and a joy to have you here, Drew. So just by way of context for our listeners, Drew, leading this ministry, Husband Material Ministries, has come out with a book quite recently called Outgrow Porn: Find Lasting Freedom Without Fighting an Exhausting Battle. I just finished reading it. It's been super helpful. And listeners might be wondering, how does this connect to faith in the workplace and the idea of the struggles and the disappointments that we face in the workplace? And we're going to get to that because, like we've talked about throughout the podcast, we're integrated human beings, mind, body, soul, all together, and our work is part of that. And so exploring, hey, how does our sexuality interface with our work experience is actually a great way to think about how to welcome God into our work. So before we dive into all that, Drew, how do you find God at work? What's something that's helpful for you just on an average work day to welcome God's presence?
Simply praying at the start of a group or a one-on-one session sets the tone and welcomes God, knowing that He's already here and we want to be aware of Him here.
Yeah. So often it's just how we tune our attention that makes the difference. So that's great. Okay, so in your book, Drew, you share this great story of when you were learning to surf in Costa Rica, and you kind of use this as an analogy for how you think about our relationship with sexuality, too. Could you tell a little of that story and what that means?
Yeah, I was trying to learn how to surf and extremely frustrated and exhausted because I couldn't even get out far enough to catch a wave. The waves kept pushing me back. I was so frustrated and exhausted. I was like, this is just not working. Well, my instructor told me, Drew, you're fighting against the ocean. You're never going to win that battle. Stop competing with this force that is so much more powerful than you. Instead, move with it. Find a way to collaborate with the ocean. And if you get really good at this skill, you can even dive under the waves. And once I figured out how that worked, even though it was counterintuitive, everything changed. I actually got where I wanted to go. And sexuality is in many ways like the ocean. It's beautiful. It's a wonderful opportunity for connection and joy. And it's also very, very powerful, and it can destroy us. And so rather than trying to fight against our sexual thoughts and feelings, including the urge to watch porn, I invite people to befriend their sexuality and move with it. And it's a very different approach.
Yeah. As I was reading the book, you talked about purity culture and this idea that a lot of times our relationship with sexuality is framed as a battle. There were even books that had that word battle in the title that kind of framed it that way for Christian teenagers, particularly evangelical teenagers, but perhaps others as well. And that idea of there's this kind of antagonism, like my sexuality's the enemy and I've got to beat it, you found actually makes the problem worse versus this befriending approach allows for real healing. Could you just share what's the difference in stance there of battling versus befriending?
Yeah, well, the more we resist emotions, sexual attractions and temptations, the stronger they get.
Mm.
Uh, and so that's why so many of us who have had a history with pornography have felt like I felt in my surfing lesson, just frustrated and exhausted, trying over and over again and being overpowered by this thing that's stronger than me. So the purity culture approach was just one example of anti-sexuality, a negative
Mm.
view, a negative stance towards anything sexual. And it wasn't all bad. Like there were some good pieces of it,
Yeah.
but the problem was being motivated by fear and shame
Mm.
rather than the approach that I've been learning, that I've been teaching, is focused and motivated by love and
Mm.
kindness. And that has a completely different energy with it.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, one of the reasons that that kind of battling image I just assumed was good is because, Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount, he teaches like, whoever looks at a woman lustfully has committed adultery in the heart. So I'm like, that sounds pretty serious. That sounds pretty bad, something to fight, right?
Mhm.
And yet also, as we read the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus is always addressing the heart, right? Like his point is, you have a heart that's going to lust after that woman. And it seems like this befriending approach is kind of more exploring what's going on in my heart
Yeah,
that leads me to have these sexual feelings or have this sexual arousal. And
right.
and then moving forward as you gain more insights about your heart.
Exactly. Sexual thoughts and feelings are often secondary, just like anger is often secondary. There's something underneath it. Same is true for sexuality.
Yeah. So there was a quote from your book that I really loved where you were dealing or working with one of your clients, and he said, "You're like the Mr. Rogers of sexual recovery." And I love that because I love Mr. Rogers, Fred Rogers. He's like one of my spiritual heroes. But I also felt like that embodied your approach, that it's actually going to help people move into life with God and healthier sexuality more to have a gentle approach and a kind approach than a kind of antagonistic or militaristic approach.
Mhm. Yeah. And when you spend all of your energy trying to stop a relapse, that will affect every area of your life, including work. It can take up a ton of mental space. It can be emotionally exhausting. It can hurt your relationships, and it can create a sense of distance or alienation from God. So this is something where I'm hoping that instead of feeling like you're fighting a battle, you'll feel like you're Mr. Rogers bringing love and compassion to your sexuality and whatever parts of you are hurting and in need of some tenderness.
Yeah. And one thing I want to emphasize as I read your book is this is not in any ways backing down from like a commitment to holiness or like
Right.
rigorous discipleship, repenting of sin. It's actually a deeper way to engage that process. The way that we recover from sin, so to speak, or that we recover from other things, maybe that we don't even bear full responsibility for, is not by just addressing behavior, but by letting God heal the heart.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated that, um, and for some listeners that might be new that this isn't just about gritting it out with a
Hmm.
kind of effortful resistance, but there can actually be some internal dynamics that lead to healing. If you could summarize like the main idea of your approach to healing, how would you describe it?
Chapter one of the book is called Heal the Boy to Free the Man. You might also say Heal the Girl to Free the Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Primarily, it's not men and women who get hooked on porn, it's boys and girls. When you think about how old were you when you first encountered porn, most people I ask will say 6 years old, 9 years old, 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
We've been exploited from a young age by $100 billion industry that sexually abused us as a generation. And so, yeah, that's part of why it's so difficult and complex to pursue freedom.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love this approach so much. I've personally benefited from it. You and I have had some conversations about that. I have friends that read your earlier book, Redeem Sexuality, and it was a game changer for them. So I'm really excited for this book, Outgrow Porn, to resource more men and women in their journey of recovery. Kind of bringing the conversation back to the workplace specifically. Sometimes our sexuality comes up at work. It's not like our sexuality goes away when we log into our laptop or walk in the doors of our office or our workplace. So if you find yourself kind of sexually aroused at the workplace, say, like, how do you respond to that?
Mm. Man, this is so important. I think Patrick Carnes, the grandfather of the field of sex addiction, once said that porn is a workplace phenomenon. And if you could add up all the hours that people spend at work accessing porn, it's a staggering number.
Mm.
Um, but beyond the temptation to look up images and videos on the internet, it could also just be feeling sexual attraction or energy with a coworker, or even a really strong emotional connection that can be a threat and that can be a risk. So the first step, instead of fighting or fleeing that experience right away, is to simply face it
Mm.
and welcome those thoughts and feelings.
Now that's a counterintuitive step for certain Christian listeners. Like, wait, I'm getting sexually aroused at work, and you're saying I should welcome that? Tell me more.
Yeah. Well, obviously, if you are at risk of doing something inappropriate or someone doing something inappropriate with you, leave the situation immediately. Like, don't even waste any time trying to negotiate. Just get out of there. Flee sexual immorality, as Paul says. Now, if that's all you do, the sexual thoughts and feelings will stay in your body and they will resurface later. It could be hours later, it could be days later, and they will come back with a vengeance
Mm.
if we don't process them. And that's why we need to face them. And as I'm saying, welcome all that is within you
Mm.
to say, I'm feeling this attraction right now, or I'm feeling this urge right now. Isn't that fascinating? Hello, urge. Hello, attraction. Nice to see you. This might sound silly, but it's creating this culture of hospitality within your soul instead of hostility.
Mm.
And when we are hostile against these thoughts and feelings, as I said, they get stronger, and they might hide away for a while, but they will intensify. And so if we welcome a sexual urge and stay mindfully, non-judgmentally observant of it, it can pass within 30 minutes.
Mm.
If we try to make it go away or shut it down, it can snowball into an avalanche or feel like a train that's getting faster and faster. So simply welcome these thoughts and feelings. And then you can start to ask, where might this be coming from? What's underneath this? And there are lots of tools like the floss method or like inner child work that can help to answer some of those questions. Because it's not about sex. It's about the heart, as you said. So we need to learn how to go deeper.
I love the floss method. I know we probably don't have time to unpack the whole thing here, but could we just like say like point by point what the floss method is, even though we don't have a chance to like dig into it super well?
Yeah. So the basic concept is, instead of staying on the surface level and dealing with sexual symptoms, you're getting into the deep, dark places where stuff might be hidden. Like when you floss
When
your
you floss
teeth.
your teeth. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the letters of floss stand for fear, lie, origin story, sadness, and surrender. I'm just going to focus on the O of origin story for now. In the time that we have, ask yourself, when have I felt this way before? So if I'm seeing an attractive person, when have I seen someone like this before? Or if I feel really judged or criticized by my boss, even though my boss didn't say anything particularly negative. When have I felt this way before? If I have this really strong emotional connection and I feel accepted by somebody when maybe I don't feel accepted by my friends or by my family or my spouse at home, when have I felt that way before? Or the flip side of it is, if I'm feeling accepted, then when have I felt rejected before by someone like that? And that's a simple way of starting to surface what might be underneath.
I love that. So it sounds like if you're finding yourself sexually aroused during the workday, the thing is not to try and suppress that or ignore it or run away from it or fight it, but instead kind of have a curiosity, a hospitality about it. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder why I'm feeling that way.
Yeah.
And then when you have a breather, a moment to look at how does that connect with my story? When have I felt this way before? And that'll help you unpack some of the feelings that might be behind that experience.
Yes. While also setting up safe boundaries as necessary.
Right.
There is an additional step that can be so beautiful when you not only address the arousal you're feeling, but also bless the desire. So I said, for example, feeling accepted by somebody. The desire for acceptance is good.
Yeah.
That's God-given. So I can find a way to bless not only the fact that maybe this person's really attractive or I feel really seen and heard by them, but I can also bless that what my heart wants deep down is not a bad thing. And while I can just feel the de-escalation, as I say that, rather than, just locking down in survival mode, trying to get through it.
Yeah. I know for me personally, it's been really helpful to, if I have an experience like that at the workplace, to not freak out, to not feel like there's something terribly wrong with me that I find one of my coworkers attractive. That's a normal response. And when I've given myself that permission to be like, oh, that's a normal response, rather than immediately going to shame or guilt, then I do find, I have that breathing room to process it, to let it go. And to exercise healthy boundaries, to not fantasize about that person, to honor my wife, to etc. And it's just such a better approach. It's almost like rather than trying harder, when we try softer, we actually sometimes get closer to freedom.
Right. So Andy Colbert's book Try Softer is really good.
Oh,
as well.
I didn't even know about that book. I heard the try softer phrase from John Ortberg, I think. He probably poached it from Andy.
Yeah, Andy Colbert. She's a therapist.
Okay.
And that's a great way of reframing this whole battling versus befriending is instead of trying harder, try softer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And instead of turning these sexual feelings into magical, forbidden no-nos, it's we normalize it. There are beautiful people who are emotionally attractive, physically attractive, maybe even spiritually attractive. And that's okay. We don't have to be threatened by it, and we don't have to be controlled by it.
Amen. Well, I wish we had more time, and we'll see if we can make more time, maybe have Drew do a part 2 of this with us. But Drew, as we close this out, could you just pray a prayer for all our listeners as they face whatever they may be facing at work, that they would welcome God in that moment?
Yes. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, you created us for connection. May we experience that connection with you, with others, and within ourselves, especially when we're feeling sexually triggered or tempted. Help us to move with your design and to receive your kindness and to be kind to ourselves so that we can process whatever's unprocessed and be present wherever we go. Amen.
Thanks for listening. Finding God at Work is a production of Mission Central, a ministry based in Aurora, Illinois, dedicated to forming Christians for mission in everyday life. You can subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to this episode to get 10 minutes of teaching on faith and work every Tuesday and Thursday. To get resources to go deeper with each podcast series, read our blog, and get info about upcoming courses on faith in the workplace, go to our website, missioncentral.church.